What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Game Room Podcast. I'm your host, Rome, alongside my co-host, Jeff. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing excellent tonight, sir. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely, man. We have a stacked show for you guys tonight. Video games everywhere getting turned into TV and movies. It's crazy. We're going to talk about all that. And it is an Xbox showcase coming in early 2023. Tomb Raider, Last of Us 3. And then we're going to wrap up with our topic of the show, which is Christmas and video games. We're going to be talking a little bit about telling some Christmas related stories and, talking about games that we associate with Christmas. Maybe not necessarily that are Christmas themed, but are just things that, when Christmas time rolls around, we're thinking about them.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's going to be a pretty fun show, Jeff. Are you ready to go?
absolutely.
All right. Well, let's just jump into the news headlines because we have a decent chunk of stuff to go through. It was actually a pretty big week following the Game Awards a few weeks back. Um, First and foremost, number one on the topics, uh, Hogwarts Legacy, the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 ports have been delayed. They will now launch on April 4th, 2023, with the Nintendo Switch version following on July 25th, 2023. These were both, the Switch version was also delayed. The PS5 and Xbox Series versions are still on track for their release date in, I believe, February. Um, so I decided to share this one a little bit, Jeff, because obviously it's the last gen versions, but you were probably going to be playing this on the PS4, I imagined.
Oh, absolutely. I was super excited for this game. I don't know if it's completely open world. I don't want to say that word without knowing, but it looks to be like an open world Harry Potter game. Like, count me in, dude.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm excited for these games. Honestly, I think it's probably an indication that these last gen versions are probably not going to be very good. Um, we're kind of at that point where the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles are just the way to buy these games. Um, and I think just bringing these games to the older platforms, while yes, people, like you, Jeff, who haven't jumped on board with the new generation yet, I really feel like you guys are going to be playing inferior games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do have problems that Coach does not while we're playing Warzone. You know what I mean? But it's minor, like quality of life type things at the moment. But I could definitely see it getting worse.
Yeah. Well, that's
What up,
something to
Chef Dude? Team R Claw.
what's going on, Chef? All right, moving on to our next headline.
Yo, real
Oh,
quick, I gotta say I love this guy's name, Chef Dude 86. I've been a chef most of my life, man, and I'm from 1985. So
oh wow, look at that. All right, next up, Unreal Tournament 3 X is coming completely free with crossplay between Steam, EGS, and GOG. There will be no microtransactions, no strings. This is a fully featured, award-winning first-person shooter that you fell in love with. It will be completely free. Have you played the previous Unreal Tournament games?
I played some of them like from way back in the day, not any of the recent ones.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that this is it looks pretty good based off what I've seen. There's not a lot. It's kind of just screenshots and stuff like that, but it is a well-known franchise and it's going to be free to play with cross-play across all the PC marketplaces. So that's good to see.
I'm down to try it.
Right. Next up, first kind of the first big story of the roundup. Naughty Dog's next game is rumored to be The Last of Us Part 3. Following comes from Insider Gaming. Recently, it was claimed by a prominent video game and movie leaker on Twitter that Neil Druckmann, co-president at Naughty Dog, is currently working on The Last of Us Part 3, and it'll be his next game. While this news may not come as a complete surprise, it's a step towards confirmation that A Last of Us Part 3 even exists. Last year, Druckmann confirmed that there was something of a plot, and then this year there were whisperings that it was in the earliest stages of development, but this leak could be a step closer still. The leak also notes that it could be technically years away. While this technically would be the third Last of Us game in development at the moment, with the firm also working on the PC port of Last of Us 1 and a multiplayer focused Factions 2 Last of Us game that was revealed this past summer. Obviously, Last of Us Part 3 would be the next mainline Last of Us game. Jeff, have you played the Last of Us games?
I have not. I've watched a lot of streamers play them. It's just not my type of game to play. You know, that long single player storyline. You know how I don't have too much time with work and all the podcasting we do. So I like just being able to jump into a match, like stuff like Warzone or Apex. You know.
There. Yeah, I do really love narrative single player games. That's really kind of my bread and butter. It's what I love.
Yeah.
Played the first one. The first one is just phenomenal. Totally a recommended game. That would be a game that would be on the long pitched Jeff plays series that we could do here. The second one I have not played. I was hesitant because I heard a lot of bad things about it. I might eventually jump in on it, but the first one is absolutely phenomenal and definitely worth playing.
Okay.
But seeing a third game come out, I mean, it makes sense. Naughty Dog has focused, primarily on Last of Us for the last, few years, and it seems like they might continue that trend.
Yeah.
Next up, our first. So at the beginning of the show, I teased Jeff that we had a lot of like TV video game news to go through, and this is our first of the headlines. Ash Ketchum, as we know, he won the world title, the world championship, became the greatest Pokemon trainer in the anime. The Pokemon Company has announced that in January they will be closing, or at least have the closing chapter of Ash's adventure play out in an 11 episode series. I tried to stay away from spoilers. I don't want to know what it is. But this will be the end of Ash Ketchum's story, and they have already teased new characters for the next adventure, which will take place in the Scarlet Violet world, in the Paldea region.
Oh, that's cool. I think I might know something that you don't know, which kind of it plays into my next Pokemon tattoo that's gonna fill in some of the gaps on the arm. You know what I mean? But I won't say anything until we kind of hear more about it. Until maybe you hear something.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay kind of as spoiler free as I can because I still
Yeah.
have to watch. I'm gonna wait for the dub, and I also have to get caught up on the show. I'm a few years behind. I stopped somewhere. God, when did I stop? I stopped somewhere in the Sinnoh part of the show, so I'm like years behind. But I want to get caught up. I really want to watch the end of this story arc. I mean, it's just an awesome thing to see Ash Ketchum get his ending. Like, kind of crazy to think about. Like, Ash has been doing this stuff for like 25 years, and he's wrapping it up, man.
Yeah. All I can tell you is from what the thing that I know. All I had to do was hear it, and my eyes started watering. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna make us cry.
I'm looking forward to that. All right. The head of Platinum Games, or I'm sorry, the vice president of Platinum Games, doesn't see the Bayonetta series ending anytime soon.
Good.
Following comes from Nintendo Life. Platinum Games is seemingly going all in on the Bayonetta franchise, having launched Bayonetta 3 earlier this year to critical acclaim, and is currently gearing up for the imminent release of the prequel title, Bayonetta Origins: Cereza and the Lost Demon, in March. Hideki Kamiya, vice president of Platinum Games and creator of Bayonetta, recently sat down with IGN Japan to discuss the future of the franchise, claiming that he could not envision the series ever ending. When asked whether Platinum Games would be up for making Bayonetta 4 and 5, this is what he had to say. I personally can't conceive the Bayonetta series ever ending. I want to make a Bayonetta 4 and a Bayonetta 5, and I intend on pitching them to the company. We often talk internally about how we could make 9 of them. I want people who love the Bayonetta series to believe me when I say I'm not going to do anything that will betray the players. In addition to discussing the future of the series, Kamiya also reflected on his time with Bayonetta, having worked on the franchise for a total of 13 years. He states that while player expectations for a long-running series may shift over time, he believes that developers need to have their own convictions as creators when they make games, maintaining a consistent world in their own way. So I'm very excited to play Bayonetta 3. It's on my list. I'm currently trying to wrap up my Pokedex on Scarlet and Violet. Bayonetta 3 is one of like the 2 or 3 games I really want to get to next. Um, I think this is really awesome that he has these plans for Bayonetta to just keep going, and but also that he's kind of recognizing that he's not going to steer away from what people love about the franchise. And yeah, man, Bayonetta is awesome. Yeah, you haven't played that either, Jeff. I know you're a little lost in the wind right now, but
Yeah. No, definitely didn't play that one.
it's another great franchise. All right. Amazon Games will be publishing Crystal Dynamics' next Tomb Raider game. This came from Game Informer. Amazon Games will publish the next Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider game, which was announced earlier this year. In April, Crystal Dynamics revealed that it was developing the next Tomb Raider game in its series, which that began with a reboot back in 2013. They did so during the State of Unreal 2022 presentation, revealing that this Tomb Raider sequel, the fourth in the rebooted series, will be built on Unreal Engine 5. Which, by the way, Jeff, I don't know if you've seen the Unreal Engine 5 footage.
Oh yeah.
It looks bonkers. It's
I've
crazy.
seen somebody rebuild the World of Warcraft universe a little bit in it, and oh my god.
So yeah, so
What up,
Crystal Dynamics.
Doge?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, what up, Doge?
What's up, Doge?
Yo, there's a scissor emote from YouTube now.
Oh, there you go. That's nice.
Let's
Look at that.
go.
That's dope. So yeah, Jeff, Crystal Dynamics is working with Amazon Games to publish the sequel. I love the Tomb Raider series, especially the reboots. I just think the reboots are just awesome games that I just love playing. And it's interesting that we're seeing Amazon Games kind of step into publish. They also had a game that was announced at the Game Awards, which name is ironically enough escaping me. But it feels like Amazon Games is trying to make that push into game publishing. Which I mean, they have the money to do it. So I mean, I guess we'll just have to see what happens with Amazon in the gaming realm.
Yeah, aren't they the ones making Ashes of Creation? I could be totally wrong. I would have to look into it.
You did help me remember. It's Blue Protocol. Remember the one we were talking about, the MMO that looks really good,
Yeah.
really clean? That's the Amazon Games one.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Amazon Games is stepping into the gaming realm, and they're going to be publishing games. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, their first two titles look very good. So I mean, that's good
Yeah,
for
we'll
them.
see.
Yeah. All right. Guerrilla Games confirms it's working on a Horizon online co-op game. So basically, the studio posted 17 job positions for a new online project,
Whoa.
with several of the descriptions confirming that it's a Horizon game. Basically, the listings are all, looking for lead designers to help build a universe for a multiplayer audience in the Horizon franchise.
Wow.
This kind of goes in line with Sony, what they had said earlier this year, where they said they wanted to expand their portfolio into more online games, not just their single player games that they're known for. Um, and I think that both PlayStation and Xbox could learn a little something from each other. While I think Xbox does multiplayer games much better, I feel like PlayStation does single player games better at the moment. So I would like to kind of see both of them kind of get better at where they're weakest. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I mean, I love Horizon. I fell in love with the Horizon franchise this year. Again, Forbidden West is another one that it's with Bayonetta 3 and High on Life. I think those are like the next three that I really want to get to. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for them expanding this Horizon franchise. They're doing DLC for Forbidden West. They're doing the VR game, and now they're doing a multiplayer game. So it's exciting times if you're a fan of the Horizon franchise. Okay. Excuse me. Next one. This is a little one, Jeff, that I actually put in for you. So World of Warcraft veteran Chris Metzen is once again working on Warcraft. This is coming from GameSpot. One of the fathers of World of Warcraft, Chris Metzen, is once again working on the Warcraft universe as a creative advisor after having departed in 2016. The news comes via Warcraft Senior Vice President and General Manager John Haidt, who announced the partnership on Twitter. Haidt states that Metzen will return to working on the World of Warcraft initially, but that in time his work will expand to other projects across this growing franchise. The quote was, "Chris is one of the original team members working on the Warcraft universe back when it began in 1994. And we are so
Yes.
happy to be reuniting with him with the world that he helped create." Um, and
Now
then, sorry, go ahead.
that's way back in the
Mhm.
Warcraft world, like back when it was a what do they call that type of game? RTS, like Command and
Yep.
Conquer, real time
Yep. RTS.
strategy.
Yep.
Warcraft 3, 2, and 1 were, and that's back when he was on that. So it's really, really refreshing to see them realize, like, hey, if we want to bring back some of our hardcore players, we need one of our hardcore creators to come back, and that's one of the good ones.
Yeah. GameSpot also kind of runs down his resume a little bit. Metzen worked on the Warcraft universe for over 20 years, having served as creative director on Warcraft 3 and as senior vice president of story and franchise development for much of his time on WoW. He is the voice
Yes.
of multiple characters in the MMORPG, most notably the Horde leader Thrall, a role he has continued to play since leaving Blizzard. But Metzen's work at Blizzard wasn't limited to work on Warcraft. He was also the lead designer on StarCraft, worked heavily on Diablo 2, and more. Since departing Blizzard, Metzen founded his own tabletop gaming company, War Chief Gaming, and has continued to do more voice work.
War Chief Gaming. That sounds dope.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I think that this is just Activision Blizzard, man, with Microsoft purchasing them, they're on the upswing, and I think that there is a push to make Activision and Blizzard, viable companies again. To kind of say, you mentioned, or Purple mentioned in the chat last, I think it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that she just stopped playing. You know what I mean? And I think
Hmm.
that for Activision Blizzard to get back on track, they're going to need Xbox, but they're going to need to do some work on their own end. And I think bringing back somebody who's been there and he's got his fingerprints all over Blizzard's IP. I just think that this is such a smart move from them.
Absolutely. All I gotta say is Loktar Ogar for the Horde.
Oh, yeah. I've never played WoW.
Yeah.
So.
There's the Horde in the Alliance, and I'm a
I know
Horde
a little
guy.
bit about the lore of WoW, but like again, like MMOs, I get it. Like it's funny that you play the MMOs and I play like everything else because like I get a little, I don't want to say intimidated by MMOs, but I just worry about the time sink. It's like, oh man, like for me in my head, I'm like I think I see MMOs as games that just don't end,
No, yeah,
and
you're 100% right. Like I don't have time to play them anymore. I wish I did.
right, and I'm just kind of like, oh well, I mean, when am I gonna jump in? When am I gonna be able to jump out? When am I gonna feel good about jumping out? So I
Yeah.
never really get into them. I played RuneScape a lot when I was in high school. Like that's as far as I go. And I fucking love RuneScape.
Hey, that's one of the OGs. That's a great one.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in middle school and high school playing RuneScape.
Nice.
All right. Next up, a new Ubisoft job listing confirms that Assassin's Creed VR is still in development. This comes from Insider Gaming. Despite the title being announced over 2 years ago, not much has been said about the future of Assassin's Creed in VR. We have learned already that Assassin's Creed has at least 5 titles currently in the works: Mirage, Hex, Red, Jade, and Invictus. But nothing else officially has been said about the VR project. Although nothing has been said officially for some time, a couple new job listings for Assassin's Creed VR were posted to and it's called Hitmarker yesterday or last week, suggesting that the game is still in development. Um, I'm excited. I might make that jump into VR next year. And I would definitely be down to play Assassin's Creed in VR. That sounds dope.
Oh hell yeah.
So I'm glad to see that's being worked on still. All right. Another here we go. TV movie. There was like I said, Jeff. I wasn't kidding. There's a lot of TV shows that got announced this past week, or like TV video game related news. This one's a movie though.
Okay.
Um, Next up, Death Stranding movie in the works from Kojima Production and Barbarian's Hammerstone Studios. This is from IGN. Hideo Kojima Productions has partnered with Barbarian executive producer Alex Lebovici at Hammerstone Studios to develop and produce a movie based on Death Stranding. As reported by Deadline, the film is being fully financed by Hammerstone and Kojima. Um, and Kojima and Lebovici, I think that's how you say it, will serve as producers on the project. Kojima Productions US and Alan Ungar will take on the role of executive producers. No further details were given, but the movie is being worked on currently.
Nice.
On to the next one. A God of War live action series has been announced for Amazon Prime Video, with Cory
Yeah.
Barlog being serving as the executive producer. Prime Video has announced that it will officially order a God of War live action series in co-production with Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions. Amazon Prime Video service says that the live action series will be an adaptation of the Santa Monica Studios sequel series, following Kratos in the Norse realm of Midgard, following his quest for vengeance in ancient Greece. Like in the game, the series will follow Kratos as he journeys with his son to the highest peak as a final request from his late wife. Um, so yeah, I mean, we like I said, a lot of movie and TV news today. Um, I'm excited to see what this looks like. I know Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos, is kind of campaigning for him to play Kratos. Um, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, why not, dude? I don't know if you ever watched Stargate, the television show, but he was amazing as Teal'c, and a lot of people forget that he was Teal'c on that show. I was a huge fan of MacGyver as a kid. I know that's, before your time. But he also played the captain. I forget what his name is in Stargate, but um, yeah, I absolutely love that dude.
No, absolutely. All right, next up for Amiibos, which I'm a huge Amiibo collector, Jeff. As
Amiibos.
Amiibos. We have the release dates for the Kazuya and Sephiroth Amiibos. Both are releasing on January 13th. I already got my pre-orders in for them, Jeff.
Oh.
That Sephiroth Amiibo is gorgeous.
When
Jeff.
you go to pick up your pre-order when it comes in, if they have a second one, will you pick that up for me? I'll pay you
I
back.
would, but I ordered them online.
Ah, okay.
You can probably find them. I know on GameStop, Best Buy. Those are usually the ones that have them. But yeah, the Sephiroth one looks just so dope. It looks so
He's
good.
incredible.
He's got the one wing sticking out, like
Yeah,
on the Amiibo.
one-winged angel, baby.
Hell yeah, man. And then we also got a confirmation for the Pyra and Mithra Amiibos. They will be arriving later in 2023. Which at that point, I think the only Amiibos that are missing are Sora, I think.
Okay.
Not 100% on that. I might be, there might be a gap there, but I'm pretty sure Sora will be the last one that they need at that point. But yeah, Amiibos are cool. I love collecting them. As if you look at, if you're a longtime fan of the Broken Tables podcast, I did a promo in front of my Amiibos once, and I have them on the wall lined up like the fighter select screen from Smash Brothers Ultimate, which it looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Speaking of other things that were Nintendo little added things on. Over the past week, we got 4 more Sega Genesis games available for Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack members. Golden Axe 2, Alien Storm, Columns, and Virtua Fighter 2 were added to the service. Jeff, I don't know if I ever asked you this. Were you a Sega kid at all growing up or no?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, man.
Do anything new? Because admittedly, I was not a Sega kid.
So, say what were the names of them again?
So Golden Axe 2. Alien.
Golden Axe, you should remember. That's the one where you're like either the guy with the axe, the lady, or there was like 3 or 4 characters you could be. There was a little dwarf guy. There was a big guy that looked like Conan, and he kind of rode on little dinosaurs a couple times. It was a side scroller. That was a really good one. Golden Axe was really fun. And what was the next one?
Alien Storm.
That one doesn't ring a bell at all.
Okay. This next one, based off the cover of it, it looks like a puzzle game. It's called Columns.
Don't recognize that one either.
And then Virtua Fighter 2, I've heard of Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter games were really cool. It was kind of like a Tekken, but the guys were very blocky looking. It was very, I guess you would say early days of VR looking. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All right. Is this the last TV news of the? No, it's not. This is not the last TV/movie news headline, but here's another one for you. Henry Cavill, Jeff. He's not Superman anymore, and he's not Geralt of Rivia anymore.
Nope.
But he will be producing and starring in a Warhammer 40K series.
Yes.
It has been heard for a few weeks. Henry Cavill, first he dropped out of The Witcher, then, he got cut from DC, which they also broke up with, or they cut ties with Gal Gadot. So they're completely recasting their DC universe, which I'm very interested in.
Yeah, and The Rock unfollowed them on Instagram and stuff, so it's
Well, that was because of a whole big thing where he leaked incorrect numbers about the movie. Like it wasn't actually much of a hit. Like I don't know, man. I didn't think he looked very good, and I wasn't surprised to hear.
I mean,
Like,
he was set to play him for 15 years and he unfollowed the character. That's pretty wild.
I mean, what can you do? Also at the same time, Dwayne Johnson, you're 50 years old. Unfollowing people on Instagram is something that I
Yeah.
would expect from a
You know,
12-year-old. Like, come
my
on.
opinion with this character, you needed to do something else to introduce him rather than just be like, "Hey, guess what? Here's his movie." I get it that you went out and got The Rock, who's a pretty big star, but that's the only reason you got half the people to go to the movie theater anyway. You know what I mean? He needed to show up in like the next Superman movie or the next Justice League movie and be a badass and leave people hanging, kind of like pretty much how Infinity War, all the not Justice League, all the Avengers movies, at the end of each one, we had a stronger something going on. So
Yeah. All right. Moving on. And don't worry, Jeff. Like I said, there is one more movie TV tie-in news.
you're good.
Like I told, dude, I don't know what happened this week. They just everybody was like, all right, announce it
Yep.
now. It's like Gears of War announced theirs like a few weeks ago, so they
That's
were like,
because
we gotta get the ball rolling.
vacation time is starting. They're like, get it out before you leave.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I mean, Last of Us comes out in January. I'm really interested in the Last of Us show. I'm gonna have to subscribe to HBO Max to watch that. It was a fun one, a really possibly exciting one. Big rumor going around this past week that an Xbox showcase is to come in early 2023. It's been over 6 months since the last Xbox showcase at the E3 time, where we saw Xbox and Bethesda show off kind of a roadmap for the next 12 months. Um, so we talked about the Game Awards, Jeff, last week, and there was a disappointing moment, or overall disappointment in the Game Awards this year. Xbox didn't show up. We got a little something from Nintendo, we got a little something from PlayStation. We didn't get anything
Yeah.
from Xbox, and I think that was kind of not kind of. It was a slap in the face to your fans who have been waiting. We knew that when Phil Spencer took over Xbox, those years back, that he had inherited a serious first party problem where he was going to have to go and establish first party studios, whether it be through acquisition or creation and building them up. So we understood that they were starting from scratch with nothing to come out. And to Xbox fans' credit, they've been extremely patient with Microsoft and with Xbox. And then, this was supposed to be the year where it was Redfall and Starfield were supposed to come out this holiday season, and they both got pushed back. Um, which, next year is going to be a really insane year across the board for games. And Xbox very well is going to have likely a huge year. Um, but that being said, like I said, a lot of disappointment coming out of the Game Awards for Xbox fans. Aaron Greenberg from Xbox tweeted out after the Game Awards, I think it was the next day. He said, "We have a lot planned to show you and share about an incredibly exciting year ahead for 2023. Appreciate folks are eager to learn and see more. Timing is always key, but don't worry, you will not have to wait long to hear what's next from us." This coincides with the Xbox Two podcast, Randall Thor and Jez Corden. Really great show if you're an Xbox fan. They heard from multiple sources that an Xbox showcase is in the works for early 2023. Um, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that they can show here. We're already expecting Redfall, Starfield, the new Forza Motorsport to come out next year. Xbox has other things in the work in their publishing branch with Arc 2, Stalker 2. We have Minecraft Legends announced. We have a lot of studios that we haven't heard from in a while, whether it be the Undead Labs, amongst other teams. So it would make a lot of sense for us to get a showcase from them. And honestly, that's the one thing Xbox has really been lacking in terms of announcements. Is you have Nintendo Directs, you have the state of plays from PlayStation. I do think Xbox needs something like this, and hopefully they can start doing these showcases.
Yeah.
Okay. John Carmack announces that he is leaving Meta. Now, Jeff, I don't know if you know John Carmack, a prolific computer programmer, co-founder of id Software, known for his work on classic games such as Wolfenstein 3D and Quake. In addition to his contributions to virtual reality, he announced this past week that he was stepping down from his role at Meta. Carmack joined Oculus back in 2013 as CTO before the company was acquired by Meta, then known as Facebook, in 2014. He would then reduce his role at the company just 5 years later with a new consulting CTO role to focus more on his new startup, Keen Technologies. He said, "We have a ridiculous amount of people and resources, but we constantly self sabotage and squander efforts," Carmack said in a Facebook post detailing the reason for resigning from his position at Meta. "There's no way to sugarcoat this. I think our organization is operating at half the effectiveness that would make me happy." Based on Carmack's posts and tweets, he seemed unhappy with the way things are currently going at Meta. Nothing in one tweet that he had always been pretty frustrated and how things get done at Facebook/Meta, a company burning cash into its Reality Labs division as it prioritizes making software and VR headsets designed for the metaverse in mind. Um, so the meta's not looking super great. Anything that really we've seen of it comes out. I remember a few months back, Mark Zuckerberg posted like what was supposed to be like a really cool screenshot, like a selfie in the meta, and it looked terrible. Like Mario 64 looked better than the
Yeah.
meta. This is a big blow to them. I mean, John Carmack is a visionary in the games industry, and he's jumping the ship here.
Oof. That's all I could say.
It's not a good look for the meta at all.
No, definitely not.
Lastly, the last this isn't the last headline, but it is the last TV movie news. And that is for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It has casted its two lead actors. This comes from IGN. After a tumultuous 7 years since indie horror sensation Five Nights at Freddy's was optioned for a film adaptation, the upcoming movie has found its two leads finally. According to a report by Deadline, Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson are set to become the movie's leads. Through Blumhouse, the production company behind the movie, they haven't announced the roles that they'll be taking on. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie was announced 7 years ago, Jeff, when Five Nights at
Jesus.
Freddy's was at its peak in popularity. I still kind of want to see what they come up with. Five Nights at Freddy's is kind of one of those really cool worlds and lore that you can do a lot of cool stuff with. So, I mean, I'm down for this movie, but we've definitely
That,
been waiting a minute for it.
that's one of those things that I've only been aware of it because when I step into Hot Topic, I see like shirts and stuff for it. But I've literally never seen the game. I've never heard anybody playing it. I know nothing about. I just seen some weird teddy bears. That's all.
I would recommend you go back and watch Markiplier's playthrough of the Five Nights at Freddy's games. He
Okay.
kind of was a self-proclaimed king of Five Nights at Freddy's, and for good reason. I mean, he beat them on the hardest difficulty. I think he was one of the first to do it each time. Don't quote me on that. But very enjoyable game to watch. It's a really fun game. Like, it's the kind of game that like at face value when you first heard it, it's like I don't know how good this is gonna be, and then you play it, and it's like, oh wow, this is actually really good.
Okay.
But it's a fun series, and the best part about it is the lore. There's a lot of lore to be found there. The game theorists, game theory, they do FNAF theories like every month. Like it's kind of crazy. They just keep coming up with different stuff to talk about. But yeah, I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is cool.
Okay.
All right, next up, Spider-Man 2. The PlayStation exclusive, the sequel to the first Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales. PlayStation announced this week that it has a fall 2023 launch window. Um, Jeff, next week's topic is going to be looking back on 2022, but also looking forward on 2023. And when I tell you that next year is insane, um, it is.
I can't wait for next year. All I know, we're getting Fight Forever from AEW Wrestling. Oh,
We're getting fight for like, dude.
give
Again,
me.
I'm going to be compiling like a list. Like we don't even have like a lot of release dates yet, but like, or we have some, But like when we do this topic next week, Jeff, you're gonna be like, this is all coming out next year, and I'm gonna tell you yes. And I mean, like something's gonna get delayed because something always gets delayed, but
Yeah.
it's a crazy year. Next year is gonna be insane. I can't even imagine what the game of the year like nominees next year are going to be because there's like easily based off expectations. Of course, can obviously you can be disappointed by a game. We can't predict that these games are all going to be excellent, but based off expectations, there's easily going to be about 15 games next year that are going to be in the conversation for game of the year,
Nice.
and they're all going to get crushed by The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Probably.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. All these game developers, like, here's the thing, Jeff. Legend of Zelda, I have a bias, but I'm just gonna say Legend of Zelda, best game franchise of all time. Don't at me. It's the truth. Um, and I have the proof to back it up because if you look through the history of video games, when Zelda has their main releases, their big releases, they win Game of the Years. Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. I mean, I'm sure if you go back to like the 90s, I'm sure Link to the Past was considered the game of the year that year. Like I would feel very confident in that. Um,
Great point.
it's an excellent franchise, and it always cleans up at the awards. So like I feel like developers who have their games coming out this year, because a big reason that you're seeing this is like number one, the pandemic. All these developers are finally catching up, and like the games are finally getting pumped out. They're getting finished. They're getting sent out. These developers and publishers are probably punch in the air. They're just like, I can't believe like we had to wait, and like we didn't know when Zelda was coming out. We didn't know, and we kept waiting year after year. So we had our games coming out in 2023, and Nintendo's like, "Yeah, Zelda's coming out," and they're just like, "Fuck." They're just upset, just upset. All right, another Activision Blizzard news. Activision Blizzard's president and COO is stepping down next year. Filing with U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has revealed that Daniel Alegre, Activision Blizzard's chief operating officer, is stepping down in March. As Microsoft's planned acquisition of the Activision Blizzard team goes across the regulators across the globe, um, it seems like Activision Blizzard COO is leaving the company in March. This is clearly him. We're going to be seeing a lot of this happening as the deal goes down.
Yeah.
You're going to see Bobby Kotick leave. You're going to see, you're seeing the COO leave. You're just going to see these people leaving, which I just think is phenomenal. I mean, Activision Blizzard, it's been a terrible company for the last few years. It's kind of like I said earlier with bringing back Metzer to the WoW universe or to Blizzard in
Yep.
general. Yeah, it's good. It's good to get these guys out of there so that way you can start fresh with your IP and with your studios. Epic Games has been fined more than $500 million over Fortnite.
What?
Yes, Jeff. Epic Games has been fined more than $500 million over Fortnite's unfair microtransaction practices. So,
What? What was
so
unfair? Wait, what?
well, Jeff, I'm going to tell you. So the following comes from IGN. Epic Games will have to pay $520 million over quote unquote design tricks to dupe millions of players into making unintentional purchases, end quote, in Fortnite, the FTC has announced today. The fine stems from what the FTC calls two separate record breaking settlements. One is a $275 million fine for violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule, COPPA, which imposes limitations on websites and online services directed to children under 13 years old. Epic will also have to pay $245 million in refunds to customers over its dark patterns. According to the FTC, Fortnite uses privacy invasive default settings and deceptive interfaces that tricked players. Protecting the public and especially children from online privacy invasions and dark patterns is a top priority for the Commission, and these enforcement actions make it clear to businesses that the FTC is cracking down on these unlawful practices. said FTC Chair Lena Khan. These dark patterns include tricking players into making unintended in-game purchases through a counterintuitive, inconsistent, and confusing button configuration, including being charged while waking up from sleep mode. The FTC also said that account holders can be charged without authorization, and that children have racked up hundreds of dollars in charges before parents were aware of what was happening. On that front, the FTC says that Epic ignored more than 1 million user complaints over wrongful charges while purposefully obscuring cancel and refund features.
So a lot of that just sounds like the government was like, hey, this brand new company just made like $10 billion. We want a chunk of that. So we're going to figure out a way to find them 500 million. They won't care. They made 10 billion. You know what I mean? That's what that sounded like. But I do know that you can, if you get your parents to agree one time on PlayStation, if they don't realize it, you can buy as many times as you want again after that. So
this is kind of where I'm kind of torn on this headline, on this news. So I don't play Fortnite. I played it on my Switch once or twice, but other than that, I've played zero Fortnite. I can side with the FTC in the sense of like a poorly made menu system, and you're kind of, if your system's not very good and players are accidentally purchasing things, I can understand that. The child one with the parent, I've always kind of leaned on, well, I think parents should be more responsible and be watching their kids. If you're going to have your kid playing on a phone or a device where your payment information is, like, I don't know. I just think that you need to monitor your kid better. I mean, obviously you can't, if they end up hitting purchase while you're not there, I can kind of sympathize with that, but.
So I just looked it up. Epic, since 2018, so this is 4 years now,
okay,
they have made $20 billion off of Fortnite.
Sure.
So 500 million is only half of 1 billion that they made of one of those years. They don't even care. They'll happily pay it and move on.
Oh, probably. But that's just how it goes,
Yep.
Right. Our last headline for the day is High on Life is a huge hit on Xbox and Game Pass. Now, Jeff, you've already been sharing clips of this game on the Discord, which I haven't watched because I don't want to be spoiled on the game. But High on Life is doing phenomenally well on the Game Pass service. Squanch Games' High on Life is having an incredible launch. It's become very popular on Xbox and most popular on Game Pass. As of today, High on Life is the #1 game on both console and cloud Game Pass, and it's #2 on PC Game Pass. Its rise up the list surpasses mainstay games like Minecraft and Forza Horizon 5. Its success makes it not only the best day one release of 2022 on Game Pass, but one of the best day one releases in the platform's history, dating back to 2017 when Game Pass launched. Created by Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland, High on Life is a first-person shooter where players are given tasks to assassinate various targets using different living guns. Critically, the game has seen some mixed reviews, but generally, it's done pretty well in terms of critically. But again, commercially, this is an Xbox exclusive title that is doing extremely well in the fans' view. For comparison, the Metacritic score for critics has it at 67, but the user scores are more in the 8s, it seems.
Yep.
One of the reviews said, if you enjoy Rick and Morty style humor, you will have a lot of fun with this, which I do.
The Rick and Morty absolutely comes through. What's funny is I got my brother-in-law to play it today. I got him to download it on the Xbox and start playing.
Nice.
And I was like, it has a very Rick and Morty-esque feel to it. And then he looked it up and it was like, yeah, created by Rick and Morty creator. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't even know. And it came through so much that I used that to describe it. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, they have Morty is the gun too. He's like
pretty much, yeah.
Morty. But so yeah, this is again like that's right now. Like after I finish up my Pokedex, and I have to finish God of War because I'm like halfway through God of War. But like after that, man, like those are the three games: High on Life, Bayonetta 3, and Horizon Forbidden West that I just really want to get into. But it's doing very well, and to top the Game Pass charts, like I said earlier, it was a really dry year for Xbox. 2022 was not a very good year. Other than Pentiment, which came out from Obsidian in November, not a lot going on for them, but this was a great way for
Yeah.
them to end out the year. A lot of fans really
Oh,
happy with High on Life, and
I
I
was gonna say, the Game of the Year awards might have came a couple weeks too early there because this game looks so good and it's so funny. Just watching it, I'm dying. I'm laughing my ass off just watching people play.
see. I saw a screenshot, and I wish I hadn't because I would have loved to see this, like see it as it happens. But they go to like a space Applebee's, and like people are like, "How the fuck is there an Applebee's in this video game? Like, how did they get
Oh,
Apple?"
there's more than an Applebee's.
Okay, good. I don't want to know anymore. Good, it's good. Um, but yeah, so I'm really excited to play that, and it's doing very well. All right. All right, Jeff, let's get into the game releases coming out for this week, the week of December 19th. It
All
is a
right.
as expected, it is a very slow week. There are releases coming out, but I feel like all but like one of them is already on another console. This is it coming to a different console. Um, but so coming out today, December 19th, we have Coffee Shop Tycoon for the PC. Mortal Shell comes to the Switch, and Potion Craft comes to Xbox Series consoles. Again, I know Mortal Shell is already on PlayStation and Xbox. Potion Craft, I believe, is already on PlayStation and Switch. Um, December
Coffee Shop
20th,
Tycoon, huh?
Coffee Shop Tycoon. Jeff,
Now,
there's a
I used
lot
to
of.
play like the roller coaster ones and the zoo ones, but Coffee Shop, man.
I mean, yeah, Jeff, haven't you ever dreamed of running a coffee shop?
I can't say that I have, but it does seem like something like if I just wanted to chill, that does seem like a pretty chill type game.
Well, I mean, nowadays you have so many like simulator games and
Yeah.
like you could literally find a simulator game for any career or job or
Yeah.
activity.
Yep.
It's crazy. Coming December 20th, you're
Coffee
gonna love
Shop
the name of this
Tycoon.
game, Jeff. Coming to PlayStation 4, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. That's the name of the game, Jeff.
Okay.
It's already on Game Pass. I haven't played it, but yeah,
Turnip
Turnip Boy
Boy.
Commits
I might
Tax.
have to look that up because the name is very interesting.
Um, on December 22nd, coming to Xbox One, Naraka Blade Point, which is interesting because it's already on series consoles, but it's making a step backwards to the Xbox One. That's also on Game Pass. And then lastly, on December 22nd, the only game on here that I'm pretty sure is not anywhere else, Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, coming to PS5 and PS4 on December 22nd.
Okay.
Again, it's week of Christmas, and the last 2 weeks of the year, there's nothing coming out these 2 weeks. There's nothing. I don't even. I wouldn't be surprised if there are literally zero game releases to talk about next week. I don't
Yeah,
think it's coming out.
Christmas is here and everybody's going on their vacations and stuff. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think they still have Fight Forever listed on December 31st. So everybody's out there making videos of like, don't think it's coming out on the 31st. It's like February something.
Yeah, well, so the thing that people don't understand is that video game listings will very often, if they don't have a set date, they'll go for December 31st or January 1st. It happens all the time in retailers.
Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Well, time for the topic of the show, Jeff. Christmas is this week. Have you
Yeah.
have you got any all your Christmas shopping done yet? How you doing with Christmas?
I got most of it done. I got a couple more things. I'm pretty much off from Wednesday till Monday, so
Nice. That's nice. Well, so I don't know about you, Jeff, but for me, video games are something that just integral to Christmas, not just because you receive them as gifts and stuff like that, but just kind of the memories surrounding them. I have a few stories about games with Christmas. Um, I mentioned that this was a topic to you. I don't know how much you have for this topic, but very interesting to hear what you have to say. And then I also picked out some games that I associate with Christmas, not necessarily that they are Christmas themed, but just games that for me, when I think of Christmas and playing video games at Christmas, I always think of these games.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get into some stories. So the first story I want to tell about Christmas. I kind of mentioned it on the on the first episode of the podcast. We were talking about our origins in gaming and like about ourselves. So I'm not going to go into full detail about it, like the other two stories. But that first Christmas where I got the N64, man, like what a magical Christmas that was. And the week of Christmas, it was literally the week leading into Christmas. Went over her house, her stepbrother was there, and he was out. He went out for the night, and she's like, "Do you want to play my stepbrother's Nintendo 64?" And I was like, "Absolutely!" Like, well, I don't know what this is, but let's do it. Um, and got to play Mario 64. um Man, when she we put this cartridge in, and like that's it's life changing. It really is. It's so corny to say, but man, it's the truth. It's just sitting there playing Mario 64, and I think right now you have Cool Mountain running, which is very festively appropriate. um Playing that was just so much fun. And after that we go to The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And like, when I say Mario 64 blew me away, like this is like better. Like it blew me away even like more. Um, just playing like these two games in tandem. And I remember going home that night, and I told my parents about it. Told them about I was over at my friend's house. We played Mario 64 and this game called Zelda. And I went back. I think the next 3 days, 4 days leading up to Christmas, and we played it every single day. Games. And that Christmas morning, and I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they had it planned, but I got my Nintendo 64 with Mario 64, Ocarina of Time. Also got a Game Boy Color that year with Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow, which was just insane. So it's a really cool story that I always remember. It's always stuck with me over the years. Um, Jeff, do you have any Christmas stories? I kind of want to give you, if you have anything.
So actually, yeah, man. You know how I met the wife on World of Warcraft, and I always loved playing during the Christmas time events for World of Warcraft. The Christmas events are always hilarious when it comes to WoW. The outfits that they give some of the characters are kind of, hilarious, as you guys can see right now. It's one of my favorite things to do in video games is play the events that they create. That's why I like a lot of games that have the monthly updates or the every couple month updates, where every time we get a cool holiday, we get something fun to do during the holiday. Um, Another good one would be Overwatch. Now, like Overwatch, when it comes to doing Christmas events or any type of holiday event, Overwatch, they're the ones that do this the right way. You know what I mean? You get full blown skins for a lot of the characters. You get voice lines for characters. You get the map has been changed. Just the whole 9 yards when it comes to Overwatch, and the way that they do their seasonal events and things like that. Um, Overwatch is bringing theirs back December 13th through January 4th this year, so that should be really fun if you're an Overwatch player.
Nice. All right. Well, so next up is my favorite story that I was going to tell. I think it's a really funny story. So growing up, my Christmas tradition with my family, we would go on Christmas Eve. We would go see my grandparents and my uncles, aunts. What do you call that? Extended family. Go see extended family. And then Christmas Day, we would morning with my parents, my sisters, and then we go back Christmas dinner with my extended family. So the tradition was we would see them for Thanksgiving, the extended family also, and they would ask us, my sisters and I, what we want for Christmas. Um, and I would always have like one big video game that I always asked for from my grandparents. Like I always had my list as a kid, to Santa and stuff like that. But there was always one game that for some reason I just always felt the need to have something ready to go for the grandparents. Um, and you know what? Every single year I asked for a specific game, and every single year they delivered. And I'll never forget this. The one year I'd asked for Pokemon Coliseum. Now it's a GameCube game. Very good game. I mean, yeah, it's a great game. We ranked it pretty high on the tier list.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this was like when I got these Christmas Eve games, and I started a habit for a few years where, at this point I was starting to like play games all night. I was getting the all nighters, and what became kind of a holiday tradition for me was I would take that Christmas Eve game and play it really late into Christmas, like really late. Um, and this was the first time that I had. It wasn't the first time I stayed up all night, but it was the first Christmas Eve that I stayed up all night. Um, And so I got home and I was playing Pokemon Coliseum, just having a great time with it. Um, and so at the time, my bedroom we had a fully finished basement. It was really nice, carpeted, super nice, big space. And that was my bedroom. Um, but we were a one bathroom house, and to go to the bathroom, I would have to go all the way up to the top floor.
Oh,
It's a Philly house thing. It is what it is.
stairs.
Um,
Ugh.
It was the one thing that sucked about living down there, but other than that, I had like the biggest room in the house was my bedroom, so it was great. But anyway, so I'm playing Pokemon Coliseum. It's like 4 in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I gotta use the bathroom. So I pause my game, I put the controller down, I walk upstairs, I turn around the corner, and there are my parents wrapping the gifts from Santa to
Oh,
me and
that's
my
right.
my sisters and I. And I was already like I think I was 8 or 9, so I was already kind of like figuring it out. You know what I mean? You're around that age where you start figuring it
Yeah.
out. And I remember my parents saw me and like we like locked eyes for a few seconds, and they were like, "Get out of here now." And I booked it back downstairs. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I can't use the bathroom now. So like, I mean, I just didn't go. Um, so I just sat down and kept playing Pokemon Coliseum. And like
Oh
the next
man.
and like it was weird because like they didn't come downstairs to talk to me about it. I guess because they were like trying to hurry and get stuff ready. It was like 4:35 in the morning at that point. But so they the next morning, because I didn't sleep, I just everyone I heard the commotion, I heard everyone had woken up. I was like, all right, time to make myself known. And I go upstairs, and my parents gave me this interesting look where it was just like, "You're not gonna say anything, are you?" And I didn't. Well, because both of my sisters are like a decent chunk younger than me. One was
Yeah.
2 years, the other one's like 5 or 6 years younger than me. So like, especially the youngest one. The youngest one's like 4. You know what I mean? So at that point, or 3 even. Jeez. So I didn't say anything. I kept it cool. But that's always a really funny story that like whenever I play Pokemon Coliseum, I can't help but think back to that Christmas Eve night.
Nice. I mean, I do remember Christmas being the first time I had an experience with gaming. I didn't even know what a system was, and my dad was like, you know, I didn't get it on Christmas morning, but we were going to be going to get it the day after when the store opened back up, and we went to Circuit City and grabbed a regular Nintendo. I remember it like it was yesterday. Got Super Mario with the Duck Hunt attached to it with the gun. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, man, it's just cool stories like that happen. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
last story, that I was gonna share about Christmas and gaming, was the year I got the Nintendo Wii. Um, so it was actually kind of funny for me because so like I grew up an N64 kid, and there was a point where not that I fell out of love with Nintendo, but I got a PS2, started playing my PS2. I had a GameCube, but I think I ended up getting rid of it for something because I was an idiot kid and I traded it in for like PS2 games or something like that. I was really dumb. I really regret that now. Because I spent a lot of money to get these games back. Um, but so I remember this one year where it was like it was getting around Christmas time, and I really wanted to like I saw Mario Galaxy and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for the Wii, and I was like, oh man, I remember playing Mario and Zelda. These games look really cool. I don't know if I really want to get into it or not. But so I ended up getting a Nintendo Wii for Christmas that, the one year. I think it was Christmas of '07. The Nintendo Wii was a notoriously difficult console to get um, when it was in high demand because obviously it's one of the best selling consoles of all time, and it was so hard to get these things. Um, but I was like, I really want a Nintendo Wii. I asked for Mario Galaxy. I asked for Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and my parents were able to deliver on that as well. I mean, I was very fortunate as a kid. I mean, my mom tells me that told me the story a few years later where she's like, you really don't understand how you almost didn't get this Wii, not because we didn't want to get it for you, but because of how hard it was to get. They would tell me the story that they had to go to like three different stores on Black Friday, and then like the last one they went to was like an EB Games, which is now GameStop. um and like they had a lottery drawing. There were that many people there that wanted to get a Nintendo Wii. I think they said they had 20 consoles. And of course, I wasn't there for this, so I don't know if this is just the story being, exaggerated. But she said, I'm told there was like 50 people there, or more. Like they were lined out the door. Um, and I guess the EB Games decided to do a lottery instead of like first come first serve. Um,
Jeez.
so yeah, they put everyone's numbers into like a hat. Everyone got a number. Um, and the story that I was told was that like mine was like the second to last one or pulled, you know what I mean? So,
Wow.
we were able to get that Nintendo Wii, and as much as I look at Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time, it's really funny that it happened this way, where it was kind of like, I kind of didn't fall out of love. I just wasn't playing Nintendo games for a few years like that. Um, but like man, Mario Galaxy and Twilight Princess just totally brought me back. And I have not looked back since, and just very similar experiences to playing those N64 games back in the day on Christmas, where it's like, and you had a whole week off of school, off of school that following week for holiday break, and just playing a crap ton of Mario Galaxy and Twilight Princess, like just just awesome times.
Yeah, Galaxy looks really cool here. I've never actually seen this ice form Mario before.
Yeah, this is the Freeze Flame Galaxy. Again, Mario Galaxy is a really cool game. I love this game. This is an excellent game.
That version of Mario looks really cool.
Oh yeah, so he can skate on the ice. He also creates a little ice path to walk on. So,
Nice.
but yeah, it's a cool game. Um, so those are the Christmas stories that I had and I wanted to share. So I will, we also are going to talk about, to close out the show, games that we associate with Christmas. Now, again, like these aren't necessarily games that are based in Christmas time. It's not that they're necessarily about Christmas. It's just games that we think of when when Christmas time rolls around, and stuff like that. So we talked a little bit about Pokemon, or not Pokemon, sorry, Mario 64, and The Legend of Zelda. These games are just, they're synonymous for me with Christmas time. I mean, they just give you similar feelings of joy and happiness and stuff like that. Um, but another two franchises that really stick out to me for Christmas time. One of them is Pokemon. And the reason for that, I think that in recent years, it's just because of when the games come out. Because
Yeah.
I feel like every year I'm playing Pokemon leading up to Christmas. Um, which is just, I mean, it works out. It's always really cool. But yeah, Pokemon usually comes out like, second half of November. And then I'm always playing something when it comes out. So I have to push it back by a week or so. And then I'm playing it through Christmas. Um, and, of course, like I said, Pokemon Coliseum also has that close tie with Christmas for me.
Yeah, and for me, when you say Christmas and video games, I just go straight to Mario and Duck Hunt because Dude, I can't even tell you. All the kids were outside playing in the snow with their new toys and all that stuff. And I was inside. I was literally hiding behind my couch and like jumping up and shooting the ducks on the screen. It was so fun. Oh man, if I had a time machine and like I hit a button and go back to being a kid right now, I'd hit it so fast.
And then the last two, it's a franchise, but the two games specifically that I think of are Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And the reason for these are, like I said earlier, I kind of had a thing where I would always ask my grandparents every year. They would ask what I wanted. I would always have a game ready for them. Um, and the one year, I remember pretty clearly. It was like my first year of high school, and I had asked for, I borrowed Assassin's Creed 1 from a friend, and I liked it. I thought the idea was really cool story. The gameplay was kind of rough, so I was like, oh, this is cool, whatever, it's fine. And then for Christmas, I was like, oh, Assassin's Creed 2, and I don't know why, but like I was just like, you know what, I really want to play that. I want to see where this story goes. So Assassin's Creed 2, they get it for me. I go home, play it all night. Like I said, I would do that. Um, Assassin's Creed 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. This game was so good. Like everything that was great about the first Assassin's Creed, they put it back into 2 and made it better. And then everything that wasn't good about the first Assassin's Creed, they fixed it and then put it into Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember just not just Christmas Eve, but Christmas Day, and then like the 3 or 4, 5 days following when I was off school, I just played Assassin's Creed 2 for 6 days straight. It was awesome.
Nice.
And then Brotherhood, which was it was the following year. It was like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Oh, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and then did the exact same thing with that game. Both just phenomenal games. All right.
All right.
Well, that's all I had planned for today. Jeff, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No, I managed to squeeze my Overwatch plug in there and the World of Warcraft one as well. So thank you.
All right. Well, from everyone here at the Game Room Podcast / Broken Tables Podcast, I mean, obviously we'll talk to our Broken Tables people on Wednesday. Just want to wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Um, you know, enjoy your time with your friends and family, but also make some time for video games because video games are really cool. Um, but that's all I
Absolutely.
got. So why don't you take us out, Jeff?
All right, and to add on to that, if you play multiplayer games like Warzone, please join us. Hit us up in the Discord. We will definitely throw you guys on the friends list. Get some games in. We will be throwing this up on the podcasting sites. So if you listen to us on the Amazon, Apple, Google, or Spotify, thank you guys very much for listening on these places as well. But until next time, everybody, you guys have a great night.